something that really brought it home to me in recent times was I was kind of recapping some of the evolutionary psychology, I guess, philosophy, biology behind these things. So authors like Richard Dawkins, David Buss, Geoffrey Miller, books like this, they really bring home that they really remind you that on the base level, we've been acting the same way for millennia, and just because we're essentially animals, right? We're driven by the same impulses. We're born, we reproduce, we die. Everyone wants the best deal. So just because you had in the 1950s, which is a minuscule period when you think about human evolution, the advent of this kind of Disney romance, and because that's been propagated as a mainstream media source, it doesn't mean it's actually the reality of what humans respond to on a visceral level.
I don't even think it really was then, to be honest. I think, on the surface, that may have been what was put about. That may have been the cultural narrative.
That was a cultural narrative. It doesn't mean it was true.
Yeah. Because if you look at a film like, if you look at the film Alfie, for example, with, Tusk's going to go nuts now with the sweets. If you look at the film Alfie with Michael Caine, which was a favourite of Mr. Torero, and it's a great movie. There was a remake with Jude.
Torero also liked that fucking weak ass one, didn't he? Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Yeah, he did. But Alfie's really good. There's a remake with Jude Law, which isn't quite as good, but nevertheless. And what you see with that, Alfie was a complete bad boy, really. I mean, Alfie in that film really is a bit of a scumbag. He goes around, having sex with his, friends' girlfriends. He's a love 'em and leave 'em sort of cad type character. But guess what? He's extremely sexually successful in the marketplace, and that was in the 60s, when you might have thought, well, maybe people were a little bit more sort of gentlemanly then, or whatever. Biology has always been biology. Our impulses have always been the same. The things that women find attractive have remained the same for millennia, okay? In fact, my namesake, actually, if you read the book Far From the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy, there is a gentleman in that called Sir Francis Troy. And he is a swashbuckling military hero who's a complete scumbag, and guess what? He gets all the hot girls, okay? This stuff hasn't changed much in centuries. It's just that we're trying to now be very polite about it. And actually, it's funny because I suppose some years ago, the conservative idea was to be very courtly and polite and all the rest of it. And now it's coming more from a sort of left-wing perspective because of wokeness and political correctness and all of those things. But underneath all of that, scrape that veneer, and what you find is we're all animals, and we're all fairly bestial, really, in the way that we operate.
So how does someone incorporate this stuff without becoming a complete psycho scumbag? How do you do it in a calibrated way? Well, of course, you've got to buy a product, The Edge, because.
Find out.
But did you find when you started to incorporate this stuff, where you did start acting like a bit of a scumbag in the clubs and things, that it did a Torero-esque thing where it did throw you too far to the dark side, or were you always able to incorporate it in a not completely lose your mind kind of frame?
That black pussy.
Here she is.
I think. Oh, look at the cats up there. Look at the cats on the roof. Over there.
Yeah, on a hot tin roof. There's so many cats in the city, they actually feed them.
Oh no! Tusk is just going after some pussy behind me. I think the answer to the question is that I've always managed to more or less keep it under control. I think that we can maybe get overly worried about this concept of how do I incorporate this without going nuts, because I think actually if you're a fairly sensible, calibrated human being, then you can absolutely pepper in some of this dark triad stuff without going insane. I don't think that it's a natural consequence that you're going to just end up taking it too far. I think we all know in society, in life, where the boundaries are in terms of how you treat other people. I certainly hope we do anyway. So obviously we're not talking about treating anybody badly, we're not talking about doing harm to anybody, but we are talking about you putting yourself first, being your own mental point of origin, as the old expression goes.
That's really what it comes down to, isn't it? You're going to know what your boundaries are and what your morals are and what your things are if you have a direction you're going and if you've got goals. Because if you've got goals, then everything else kind of fades by the wayside. You just get on with it and get it done.
I mean, have you had many students who come to you and they've been too dark tried and you've had to dial it back? I think there was a guy fairly recently, actually.
Yeah, Mr. M.
Mr. M really had to dial it back. But for the most part, what tends to happen is that we get guys who come along for training and they want to get better at this stuff, and they just tend to be very, very nice guys who are very logical, very sort of like, well, if I put on a certain amount of muscle, and if I get a really good job, and if I wear these nice,
which isn't a bad place to start. Let's just be frank about this.
Hey man, super cool, super cool. Start. Thank you. James, any further comments?
On his moustache?
Yes.
Yes, it's great. He has great moustache. With great
What
moustache.
about Machiavellianism? Because I feel like we don't always touch on Machiavellianism as much. We talk quite a lot about narcissism. We talk about psychopathy, lack of empathy quite a lot. But what about Machiavellianism? How does that play?
I mean, I'd say that's just understanding the rules of the game and trying to do anything it takes to win.
Yes.
But also, I think the way to correctly implement it is it's not showing people you're a scumbag. It's not showing people you're a scumbag. It's actually doing it with a smile on your face and everyone thinks you're a good guy. That's the ultimate way to incorporate it, isn't it, really? Like, you're winning at the game and you're maybe having to walk over some people to do it, but at the end of the day everyone thinks you're quite a good guy.
Are you willing to go to any lengths to get the things that you want in dating and in life in general? Okay, many guys aren't, surprisingly, and it's a bit like, well, look, I mean, you only get one life. Hello.
You're about to see the Bosphorus, the big river in all its glory, in all its morning glory. It's mental, isn't it? All the mosques and absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at those boats. It's chaos. Absolute chaos.
The best incorporation, really, I think that we know of Dark Triad, and we keep coming back to it, keep saying it, has got to be Daniel Craig in the Bond movies. Now, Daniel Craig in the Bond movies is Dark Triad, or at least he has the propensity to be a bit of a scumbag, but he's also...
He's an anti-hero, isn't he?
He's an anti-hero.
He's out for the right cause, but
Yeah.
he's willing to do anything to get there.
Exactly, but that's the thing. He's on the right team. He's also a protector, okay, and that I think is important.
Is he though? Because in a number of movies, especially Quantum of Solace, a lot of the women he bangs die horrible deaths at his hands or due to him.
Well, you can't.
Leave them
You can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. I just mean in a meta sense, in an overall sense. He's on the right side, like you said. He's on the right team, but he's prepared to do whatever it takes to get there. And I think that's really what you got to aim at. But also as well, I think a really key thing here is how much do guys actually want it? How much do guys actually want?
Not enough.
To get laid, to have this kind of abundant dating life that everyone bangs on about. Because a lot of people, they watch our videos, whatever, they'll come on the training. And when they come on the training, they're just sort of very lethargic about it, aren't they? And it's a bit like, well, do you really want this or not?
That comes down to the thing that they're lacking, which is just that desire to get laid. And it's not all about getting laid in life, obviously. But when it comes to dating stuff, really it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you either bang or you don't. You either want to get laid or you don't. Because if you're driven from the perspective of sexual desire, then you're going to get results. But if you're driven by anything other than that, results are going to be lackluster at best, because what you're proposing and what you're putting across and your vibe to women in general is going to be slightly off. So nice guys, I guess, hide their sexual intent, whereas guys with a bit of an edge own their sexual intent.
Yeah, and even showcase it.
And we're not talking about going up to girls and going, do you like my new shoes, and your dick's hanging out your pants, or any of that stuff. But we're talking about sub-communication. You're looking at the girl like she's a sexual prospect, right? There's got to be an element of sexual desire there. There's got to be a sexual energy coming from you. There's got to be a comfortableness with your sexuality, and a comfortableness putting that across to women and not being scared of it.
Yeah.
Which is something that a massive amount of guys lack, don't they? They're doing it in too nice guy mode.
Yeah.
They're not.
And what's interesting about that, like we were saying on that live stream earlier, is that it's not actually about, the things that guys think it's about, like, oh, how tall is he, how jacked is he, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, those things help for sure, but sexual intent can be emanated by quite a wide variety of guys. I mean, we know all different sort of genres of guys who have this and who put it across successfully.
Yeah.
And it goes from super skinny, like short guys, to jacked big guys, you know. It's not like, oh, I've got to be a certain sort of alpha, otherwise I can't do this. You've got to do it in your own way, and that's why we're doing the Edges of Mentoring program. Yeah, you get the video content, but you also get mentoring with us on the WhatsApp group and also in Zoom calls, because it's very individualized, this stuff. It's not going to, the way that you put edge across is going to be different maybe than the way the guy next to you puts edge across. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's about it's that collaboration between putting it across, souping up your personality, using the dials to turn things up and down at different times with the edge, but also incorporating it in a way that's authentic to you.